Hello everyone, welcome to the session on writing. Today we'll be discussing the types of questions, then how to generate ideas for writing, and one by one we'll discuss all the types of questions. So, first type is opinion essay. In opinion essay, you'll be asked to give your opinion on a particular fact. Let's look at an example. Example is prevention is better than cure. Researching and treating disease is too costly, so it would be better to invest in preventive measures. To what extent do you agree? The statement is that prevention is better than cure. And so we can take three stands on this question. The first stance is we can agree to this. That is, we can agree to the statement that prevention is better than cure. The next stance is we can oppose the statement. That is, we can say that we need cure rather than prevention. And finally, we can take a third stances. We can stay on both sides. That is, we can say that prevention is also required, whereas cure is also required. So we'll look at all the three stands in detail. So first, if we are agreeing to this, that is, prevention is better than cure. So we are agreeing to this. There are so many points that can support this statement. So the first point that we can say is that prevention. Always it is better to prevent, and there are so many diseases that could be prevented. For example, heart attacks and many types of other diseases which can be prevented based on a good lifestyle. If we follow a good lifestyle, we can prevent most of the diseases occurring these days. So that's the first point. The second point is that we need not spend much money on prevention, because prevention is basically awareness and changing food habits and all those things. So it will take much less to prevent than to cure. So the first point should be written in the first body paragraph, then we should write the second point in the second body paragraph, and then we should give a proper conclusion. So that's how we should address opinion essay. The second type of essay is discussion essay. So let's go look at the question. This is a sample question, so let's look at that. Some people think that the internet has brought people closer, while others think that people and communities have become more isolated. Discuss both sides and give your opinion. So for these type of questions, both views have to be addressed. The first view in the first body paragraph and the second view in the second body paragraph, and then finally conclusion. You should give your opinion in the conclusion. You can even give your opinion in the introduction also, but it depends on you how you frame your essay. So we can look at both the sides of the question. So first think how internet has brought people together. So that means we can talk about social media, and all these things have brought people together. So we can discuss that in the first body paragraph. In the second body paragraph, we can say how people have become alienated from each other because of social media. Because we don't know who is living next door, but we may know somebody, we may talk to someone who is our friends through social media, but we don't know who is living next door to us. So all these have made people isolated also. So both these points you can write two paragraphs, then finally you can give your opinion in the conclusion part. Next is solution essay. Let's look at the question. Overpopulation in many major urban centers around the world is a major problem. What are the causes of this, and how can this problem be solved? In this type of essay, we should first put all the causes together in the first body paragraph, then the solutions in the second body paragraph. The first body paragraph, we can say that why all the cities are overpopulated in many urban centers. The first cause is, of course, people migrate because they go in search of jobs, and we can also say better living standards. All these are the causes. And there is another cause, that is lack of facilities in rural areas. So that also make people migrate to urban centers. So then we can mention some demerits of this in the first body paragraph itself. That is, we can add that this has brought about a kind of unhygienic living conditions, pollution, and all these problems are because of the overpopulation in urban centers. In the second body paragraph, we can list out the solutions. The first solution is to obviously develop a center, rural areas. Like if we can provide facilities in rural areas, people will come back to rural areas, because in rural areas there is no infrastructure. That's why people and companies don't want to invest in rural areas. Infrastructure like electricity, then roads, then transportation, all these are the infrastructure, and the governments should take initiative and they should develop these facilities in the rural areas. That is the solution for this. Okay, now let's look at the fourth type of essay, that is direct question. In this type of question, they will ask a question directly and we have to answer that. Let's look at the question. News plays an important part in most people's lives. Why is news so important to people? Why is so much news dedicated to bad news? And should the news focus on good news instead? So there are three questions being asked here. So we have to answer one by one in three paragraphs. Well, you can obviously answer in two paragraphs also, but it is always better to answer one question in one paragraph, then come to the next question, next paragraph, then the final question in final paragraph. And finally, you can give a conclusion. Let's look at the questions. Why is news so important to people? So we should think, why is news important to people? Well, there are many reasons why news is important, because the first one is we should know what is going on around us. Then only we can, for elections and all, we can select a proper candidate. Because politics nowadays are changing day by day, and there are so many things happening around us. So only if we know what is happening around us, we can select a candidate based on that. Not just elections, based on election. We are social animals, so we should know what is happening in this society. So that is one reason why news is important to people. There are many other reasons, but I am citing only this reason. The second question is, why is so much news dedicated to bad news? When we think about that, there are many newspapers propagating bad news. The thing is that it is called sensationalism. We can see that newspaper headlines, most of the newspaper headlines, they try to propagate sensational news, because it's the human psychology is that if we see something sensational, it brings out the emotions inside us, and we are more drawn to read more and more sensational news. So it will improve the circulation of the newspaper. So more and more newspapers and news channels spread sensational news, sensationalism. So you can do a bit of research on that, because this is what is happening around us these days. Okay, now let's come to the third question, that is, should the news focus on good news instead? Well, you can say it should focus on good news, but in my opinion, the news shouldn't be good or bad. It should be just presented in the way it is. That is, the objective news should be presented as it is. So you can say that good news should be propagated, but even the bad news need to be presented. So we should not distort or embellish the facts. We should present the news as it is, and the news value should be given to news what is important for our nation, and what is important for the people, what is happening in judiciary. All these things should be reported, not just good news. That is my opinion. You can write your opinion, but always substantiate your opinion with a valid example and valid points. Now let's look at the fifth type of essay, that is advantages disadvantages essay. So what we can do in this type of question is like answer the advantages in the first paragraph, then this disadvantages in the second paragraph, and then finally conclusion. The conclusion could be your opinion also. So let's look at the question. It's becoming increasingly popular to have a year off between finishing school and going to university. What are the advantages and disadvantages? So, what are the advantages of taking a year off? We can travel, we can meet new people, we'll come to know more about who we are. So then, after that, we can make an informed choice from a bigger perspective. Our perspectives and perceptions will change when we travel and meet new people and have new experiences. So that is the advantage. The disadvantage is that some people discontinue their studies after finishing school. So that's a big disadvantage, because once people get stuck to a job, they have a tendency to remain there itself. So they might discontinue their jobs, I mean studies. People are not fully matured right after the school, so they might fall into bad company and things like that. So these are the advantages of taking a year off between finishing school and going to university. There will be a sequel to this video where we'll be discussing questions one by one, and we'll be looking at how to generate ideas, and also we'll look at how to arrange the ideas into a proper essay. So stay tuned.